Cyberpunk. It was inaugurated with the publication of William Gibson's Neuromancer, winner of the Hugo, Nebula, Locus, and Philip K. Dick Awards. The success of these books has generated spin-offs such as a graphic novel and a computer role-playing game.
Even in its current form, Cyberpunk 2077 is not the game that was promised. Given Cyberpunk's technology, I don't even think it's really capable of being the game that they promised it would be. Because that game would need a different engine and 20 years of development time.
Setting totally new standard in the genre, both in terms of the gameplay, but also on the tech side. We are using our advanced Red engine, which really work extremely well.
At some point during development, CD Projekt Red higher-ups learned this and started compromising on their vision. But instead of being honest about this in their marketing, they let ego and sales projections blind them, and as a result, Cyberpunk ended up being a GTA 5 wannabe with tacked-on RPG elements.
Cyberpunk 2077 does not feature fixed classes. Instead, it has a fluid class system that allows players to mix and match a wide range of abilities to suit their playstyles.
The game we have today, though much better than it was at launch, can still be described as a GTA 5 wannabe with tacked-on RPG elements.
Hold on, let me ping the station remotely. Try to save us some time.
Clever.
No response.
Think standing around's gonna
Then what was the point in the skill check? It's the little things that make GTA 5 great. The ragdoll, the weighty controls of your character that make you feel like you're actually in control of a person and not just a floating camera, unbound by the laws of physics, the impeccable driving that perfectly marries realism with a fun arcade feel, sharks in the ocean, the way NPCs react to you, the realistic way cars get damaged. These are all things that Cyberpunk either lacks or fails at miserably.
What CD Projekt Red has shared with me in the way that they talk about the game and what I've seen is that it's got a lot of freedom. There's so many different paths that you can play the game on. But it's not just quests of paths. It's like, who are you? How do you want to play the character?
Cyberpunk's story is just embarrassing. I love Keanu Reeves. He's always a likable screen presence, but whoever decided that he should play the flamboyant and unhinged rocker boy deserves to be fired.
Not fucking around? I don't know. Got no goddamn clue.
His performance is wooden, and his natural presence is the complete opposite to the character of Johnny Silverhand. I think that CD Projekt Red wanted the player to dislike Johnny in the beginning, then over the course of the story, learn to like him. But because he's played by Keanu Reeves, he is likable right off the bat, right from the point where he's very politely shouting about how he's going to take control.
I'll take control.
I don't blame Keanu. Every performance Keanu has ever given has been wooden. He only really works in very specific roles, and this ain't one of them. Casting Keanu Reeves probably did wonders for the marketing and the sales of the game. It's just a shame that it had to come at the cost of the central plot point to the entire game completely falling apart.
Thank you.
The Witcher 3 told its story like a TV show. It was broken down into seasons. There was an overarching plot of find Ciri, But every season had its own self-contained plots and its own self-contained characters, which just makes sense. You spend 20 plus hours in these campaigns, and you spend 20 plus hours watching a TV show. It makes sense to structure the story more like a TV show than a movie. But Cyberpunk is a 2-hour movie idea stretched over 20 hours. Imagine watching a 20-hour movie in 2-hour chunks. You are just bored by the end of it and want it to be over. The story can be boiled down to a series of aimless, melodramatic wanderings where nothing happens until the end, where everything happens. The characters you meet along the way are just 2D cardboard cutouts with cookie-cutter personalities. The writing is trying so hard to manufacture the emotional response that something like Edge Runners produces so effortlessly that it's just embarrassing. And the only emotion you end up feeling while playing the story is the queasy one that comes when you watch something cringy. There's this scene where Johnny Silverhand takes over for a night. I think they wanted it to be this really cool scene, but the whole thing is just incredibly uncomfortable.
Hey, you Ruby?
What? You've heard about me?
Let's get out of here. Tell you what I heard. Then you'll show me if I'm right.
Cyberpunk is considerably shorter than The Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red said that it was because most people didn't play to the end of The Witcher 3, so they made Cyberpunk shorter because they wanted everyone to play to the end of the story. If this is true, and it's not just because they ran out of time, which is far more likely, then it is one of the most stupidest things. Why would you pander to people who didn't care enough to finish your previous game, or just didn't have the time to finish your previous game? Watering down your art for a broader appeal has never gone well in the history of anything ever, and Cyberpunk's lame story is just another example of this. The shorter story length wouldn't have been so bad if the story branched off in loads of different and interesting ways, but here is the main quest flowchart. It's basically just one path. You see this bit where it branches into 3? It's not like you pick one. You can do all 3 if you want. Most people will do all 3. And then you get to the end where each path has very similar beats. So you're basically just picking which end cutscene you want to watch. Can I shoot you?
You must find my brother.
Of course not. That would be a choice. That would be a player choice. And that's not allowed. And just for comparison, here is The Witcher 3's flowchart. Not only is The Witcher 3 longer, but it's also branchier. Look at you. This guy's still here though. So she's just scrubbing. Cyberpunk is a really pretty painting, but all of its interactive elements, with the exception of combat, feel like they're on rails. Your starting choice outside of a bolted-on opening mission and incredibly minor dialogue options ultimately means nothing.
Grew up on the streets of Haywood.
The animation and the production quality when you're in cutscenes or a story moment is amazing. Everything is so beautiful, NPCs feel alive, it's exciting. Then you hard cut back to the open world where everything feels static, dead, and completely without any intelligence. They're just robots running on tracks.
Gonna fuck you good! Fire! Fire for fuck's sake!
There is such a disconnect between the production quality when the story is being told and the production quality when you're in the open world that it pretty much feels like you're in a different dimension. Everything in the open world is just set dressing. You gonna get him? No, because you're just there for show, aren't you? Gigantic buildings, 99.9% of which are just non-enterable Still struggling. Still struggling. I mean, it's open, you can go now if you want. The best example of this is in Phantom Liberty. In Phantom Liberty, they have a checkpoint that you have to go through in order to get into Dogtown. And what they do is they scan you before you go in. Now, in any other, open world RPG, if you had stolen items on you, or if you had contraband or anything, or a body in your trunk, perhaps, then they would alert and they would either take that stolen stuff away from you and you wouldn't be allowed to go through, or they would start shooting at you. But Cyberpunk doesn't have any stolen items. Even if you're in someone's apartment and you loot their money, that's not considered a stolen item. The game just treats it like it's yours. You can put a body in your trunk and they'll still just wave you through. This whole checkpoint situation is literally just 30 seconds of set dressing. It's so pointless.
It's a dark day here in Dogtown. Our curtain went out the way he lived. Got his head.
Going to be very commercial.
Night City is supposed to be a lawless land that is ruled by corruption and greed, where mercs are running around like headless chickens trying to make names for themselves. But while playing Cyberpunk, I always feel like I am the only merc in Night City. It's like being the only gunslinger in the Wild West. It's just boring without competition. There are so many cool things you could do with the concept of Night City mercs. You can have a merc notoriety board that tracks a merc status. Where you are on the board decides what kind of gigs you get and how much they pay. Timed gigs that another merc will do if you don't do them in time. A gang could put a bounty on your head and as a result other mercs will come after you. You could have a system where you hire other mercs to help you out on jobs that are too big for you. Working with the same mercs would improve their skills, like an RPG. This would help the city feel less static. What are you shooting at? What is happening? Less like a sandbox for the player merc and more like a chaotic city always in flux, where mercs are a dime a dozen and you need to fight to get on top. You guys are the best thing about this game. The world is littered with gigs and side quests. Some of these are actually quite fun and creative, but the vast majority are walk into place, kill everything, hack a thing, leave. They leave you feeling very unsatisfied. It's like eating air. Other than side quests and gigs, there are these NCPD things that are basically just clumps of enemies with a loot in the middle. And the moment you get to a certain level, the game's difficulty becomes so trivial. It's just boring because the enemies are so simple and they die in one hit. But then every so often a boss will arrive, and bosses are just bullet sponges. Like, oh my god. There are genuinely times where I'm more worried about just running out of ammo, unloading round after round into this one enemy, than I am about actually being killed by the enemy. And the bosses are so simple as well. They just repeat the same moves over and over again. The game is either absurdly easy or really annoying. It never manages to hit that sweet spot of challenging, fun, and rewarding. The NPCs in Night City are beyond brain dead. What's going on, buddies? Did your AI tell you to run? And then you just kind of gave up halfway through. Oh, there he is, he's back, he's back. There is something so depressing about wandering around a world where everyone only has two modes, and that is strutting down the street or running in panic. It's going to be like platform 9 3/4 in a minute. There he is. Night City is just a collection of half-baked ideas, some good, some boring, held together by a world falling apart at the seams. Do they just think no one would look here? And inhabited by lemmings.
Is she still chasing me?
Sorry.
The world of Cyberpunk has some immensely breathtaking moments and scenery, but it also has a lot of places that make you feel like you're in a computer game and not a real world. You're constantly running into duplicated objects, buildings that just look like a default cube in Blender. This whole bit section is just the same bit of road, copied and pasted, kind of sloppily. You can see that like there's a match up there. But it's the same like 1 meter bit of road, just copied and pasted throughout the whole thing. You can clearly see the defined lines where it just cuts from one texture to the next without even any feathering. In a world that is supposed to be worn and rugged, there are walls and buildings and roads and objects that are just perfectly smooth and unblemished. They couldn't figure out how to do a curve, or they didn't want to do a curve. So you can see where like the line is, where again it's like Halo Forge. They just kind of put two straight bits together and called it a curve, but there's like a clearly defined line.
So subtle you might not have even noticed, but your brain did.
There are some areas in Cyberpunk, especially some interiors, that are almost obscenely detailed, but an open world RPG's world is only as good as its weakest areas. It doesn't matter how much one area immerses you if another area completely de-immerses you. It would have been better to focus on an overall balance in detail rather than hyper-focusing on a few key areas. But because of how next-gen and revolutionary the game was constantly marketed to be, they needed at least a few areas that exemplified that, even if it came at the detriment to the game as a whole. Stumbling across these barren areas feels like being behind a movie set, seeing how all the sets that were needed for the Cyberpunk trailers fit together. You can scour Red Dead 2, and no matter how far off the beaten path you go, everywhere has the same level of detail and beauty, and the end result is a cohesive world that keeps you immersed no matter where you go. For every one thing that's impressive, there's one thing that just feels sloppy, and as a result, the two cancel each other out, and the overall game becomes the worst thing that any piece of media can be: mediocre. Whenever I play Cyberpunk, I feel like half the game is given to me and the other half I have to make up with my imagination, which is annoying because you want to use your imagination to lift the experience up and create your own stories using the game as a foundation, but you spend most of your time using your imagination to fix the foundation. Oh, nice. I can wiggle my way out of this. Easy peasy. Nearly. It's so close. Driving sucks. It's as simple as that. Driving is fucking dog shit. It's like driving a balloon on wheels.
All units in the area, order has been restored.
They sound good and they look good, but they don't feel good. What the fuck was that? They're weightless and drive like they're on ice skates. All cars drive the same. There's just fast ones and slow ones. There's no personality in the way they drive like there is in GTA. Motorbikes are better, but motorbikes are also very temperamental. Whoa. If you're going fast on a motorbike and you try and turn a corner quickly, your front wheel will lift up and you'll start pivoting on your back wheel the opposite way to the way you want to go. It's really annoying, and I don't think it's supposed to happen, but CD Projekt Red just couldn't figure out a way of stopping it happening, so it's just kind of the way it is. Cyberpunk has roughly 40 cars and motorbikes that you can buy, and 50 cars in total, but if we're being honest, most of those cars are basically the same car but with minor cosmetic variants.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
You're constantly seeing the same cars, and often you'll see multiple of the same car, just pretty much right next to each other. Are that 3 of the same car in a row? It is 3 of the same car, pretty much. 1, 2, 3. Compare that to GTA, where there are over 300 cars, planes, motorbikes, boats, helicopters, fucking trains. Many of which the player can buy. Not only can you buy most of them, but you can also customize them to your heart's content. Tires, spoilers, decals, paint jobs, bodywork, performance. Cyberpunk has the most limp dick, half-hearted, lame excuse for vehicle customization I have ever seen in a modern video game. You can change the color of your car in 2 places. Temporarily. CD Projekt Red want to be put up there with like Rockstar Games, and yet this is the vehicle customization they give for their GTA clone. Every so often you pass a car that has been altered in a really cool way, and you wish that the game would let you use these tools to alter your own car. Are those my seats? Oh, those are some ugly fucking seats. If only I could change it, Jesus Christ. Like the mechanics to swap tires and put decals on is clearly in the game somehow, because there are cars that have that on. So why are we not allowed to do that to our cars? Why are we not trusted with that power? But instead, all you get is this bargain bin discount version of vehicle customization that feels like CD Projekt Red just took down their trousers, took a massive dump and was like, here you go, how about this, yum yum yum. For a game that goes on and on about player choice, there isn't really a whole lot the player can choose that isn't either pointless or temporary.
So anyone who gets in there and uses the computer for his or her own purpose is by definition a hooligan, a punk.
Oh no. Cyberpunk's immersion is really, really easy to break. Park your car on the road and watch the NPCs pile up behind you, trying to figure out how to go around. Immersion flatlined. Walk up to a group of weightlifting, boxing, muscular badasses and punch the biggest one in the leg, and then watch them all scatter like pussies. Immersion flatlined. Have a character walk through you during a cutscene. Immersion flatlined. Shoot at a Q barrier and watch as the game treats it like a solid wall. Immersion flatlined.
Setting totally new standard in the genre, both in terms of the gameplay but also on the tech side.
At some point, CD Projekt Red added the ability to double jump and dash in the air, and this is the funnest thing about this game. Oh yeah, I am riding this fucking monorail. I have no idea what I'm on, but it ain't. However, it is also so painfully obvious that Night City was not designed with this feature in mind. Oh. We've entered the belly of the beast. Double jump and dash in the air makes getting out of bounds so easy that it's almost not even fun anymore. It makes it even more apparent that this game was just slapped together without a clear idea as to what the game would actually be. Whoa. 2077 indeed. It also makes it clear that people at CD Projekt Red aren't talking to each other. It doesn't exist. Because there's no way the world designers would allow something like double jump and dash. Well, that's just bullshit. Into the game, knowing how much double jump and dash breaks the game. The line you have to walk to stay immersed in this game is so thin and delicate that it takes all of your imagination and willpower to stay on it. But even if you do manage to ride this very thin line, because the game is held together with nothing but duct tape and dreams, at some point it's going to break and flatline your immersion anyway. At the merest whiff of trying to use the game's mechanics in a creative way, it throws a temper tantrum and just freaks out on you. For real? Oh, fuck. Is it just gonna stay attached to me? It is. It doesn't know how to handle anything other than drive to gig, do gig, drive to other gig. And in a game that is all about role-playing as an outlaw merc who doesn't care for the rules and does whatever they want, this is incredibly disappointing. I'm sorry. Come on. Ain't no one getting me off this. I'm on it for life. Come on. I've been hit by something, I don't know what. I'm still on. I'm still on. I'm still on. I've got through. I actually went under. Oh, it just disappears. That's actually really disappointing. It's like, yeah, pretend to be this cool outlaw merc, but do it in this very specific way and don't ever deviate from the path or everything will fucking break. What up, Hans? Yeah, I'm in a predicament, bro.
Heavy hearts, here I come.
One of the fascinating things about this new cybernetic or electronic universe that we are creating is that many of the ethical rules and the moral postures and even the legal limitations of the material world don't work anymore. You know, who controls the press controls the people. Who controls the tube controls the people.
In my opinion, this is the best YouTuber apology video that has ever been made. It's finely crafted by a top-notch PR team, designed to sound sorry and sympathetic while also ignoring the main issue.
Pre-ordered our game, and despite good reviews on PC...
Okay, I played Cyberpunk on PC at launch. It sucked. The only people who gave this a good review at launch were people like IGN, who, let's be honest, were probably paid, and people who were still stun-locked by the marketing.
Please, don't fault any of our teams for what happened.
Nobody blamed the devs. Anyone who's played Cyberpunk for more than 10 minutes, even the one that came out in 2020, can see that the devs are some of the most talented devs on the planet. Given the chance to actually make a game without being completely shafted by management, they could have made one hell of a game.
And since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of audience is what it is, it constantly challenged us. Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you experience while playing the game.
It is hella convenient that the only PS4s on planet Earth that could run this game well on launch was the PS4s located inside the CD Projekt Red building. I also love this humble brag of, and since the city is so packed, like, oh, since our game is so cool and so filled with cool shit to do, we just couldn't get it running on the old gens. So it's not really our fault, you know, we just made a really cool game. It's the PS4's fault for not being able to run our really cool packed game. They never addressed the fact that the game they promised was not the game they released and isn't capable of being the game they promised. They just talked about the old gens and how sorry they were about the old gens. Because if you're going to fall on your sword, you fall on your sword for the fact that you released a buggy mess and not the fact that you lied directly to the consumer's face. It is the perfect misdirection. It gets you thinking about this thing which can easily be fixed, because you can easily make this game run on a PS4. That can be fixed. They can redeem themselves there, sure, but they can't redeem themselves on the fact that they fucking lied to everyone's faces for years. So they don't even mention that. They just throw that to one side and say, don't think about that. Look at this thing that we can fix. In 2023, Cyberpunk released its big update that really fixed the game.
Hey, get back here!
For your own safety, do not disturb or obstruct an NCPD officer performing their ability.
They called it Cyberpunk 2.0, but I felt that was misleading. It isn't Cyberpunk 2.0, it's Cyberpunk 1.0. It's the game that was supposed to be released on launch. Minecraft has received copious amounts of updates over the years that have changed the game so much and added so much that playing the newest version compared to the 1.0 version is an almost altogether different experience. Yet Mojang has never felt the need to slap a tacky 2.0 sticker on a Minecraft update just to try and pull players back in. Calling it 2.0 felt like a cheap trick to make people think something dramatic had changed, and now the game was the game that was marketed all those years ago, when that game doesn't exist. It never existed. That game was always just smoke and mirrors. 2.0 felt like CD Projekt Red higher-ups finding yet another way of using their genius but false marketing from years before to swindle even more people out of their money. Just gonna take my body. Get on up out of there. You have a good day, officer. When the No Man's Sky disaster happened, for years after and even up until this day, Hello Games have been releasing huge updates. And today, No Man's Sky isn't the game that was promised, but is actually much better than the game that was promised. Hundreds of hours of content has been released in No Man's Sky's updates for absolutely free. To make up for the clusterfuck of a launch, CD Projekt Red released a paid expansion that cost £10 more than The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine. Despite the fact that Blood and Wine has more content than Phantom Liberty, this is just a fuck you to the community.
You ought to offer us a discount. A big one.
A discount? Fuck.
You know, the game that we overhyped and under-delivered? The game that for a solid year, the police system was non-existent for, and the police would just spawn behind you? The game that was filled with bugs, barely ran, had a kind of meh story, and didn't even offer anything close to the experience that for years we had been promising that it would. Well, we fixed it now, and there's finally a police system in our GTA clone. So how about you pay for this tiny expansion that costs more money than The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine, despite being smaller than Blood and Wine, and also nowhere near as good as Blood and Wine. Just because CD Projekt Red finally finished the average game that they released back in 2020 and keep adding features like temporary paint jobs for your car doesn't mean that they've redeemed themselves. The Cyberpunk that we got is the shell of the game that CDPR promised. Whoa! Oh, I was so close to doing the front flip as well. Oh, what the fuck happened there? It's filled to bursting with thick atmosphere, but the moment you start digging into that atmosphere, you find a try-hard story that fails to make any emotional impact, a lifeless world, This guy just running through everybody there. Oh no, oh my god. He's so focused. Oh, there he goes. And shallow mechanics. Shit. You're gonna catch me alive, fuckers. I'm going in Tom's diner. For real, even when I'm being checked. Please just disappear. Until CD Projekt Red actually does something worthy of redemption, they're just a company that stabbed all their fans in the back, then offered trinkets and meaningless gestures instead of anything substantial. Edgerunners is great, sure, but Edgerunners exists basically to be emotional propaganda for an inferior experience. It's top-notch emotional manipulation. They take this thing that you have plenty of positive emotions for, and by using UI elements and places from the game in the TV show, they subconsciously transpose those positive feelings that you have towards the TV show to the game.
It's subtle. That's how it works. I show her an image that turns her on. And then she looks at me, then she looks at the image, then back at me, then back at the image. Soon she doesn't know what is me, what is the image. She just knows that she's turned on. This is a place that I like to go to be alone with my thoughts. And that's it. That's me.
2077 is the worst of all worlds. It's as shallow as GTA, but without having any of the nuance or the colour that makes GTA's world feel alive. Whoa! Oh my god, he's shooting! He's shooting at? Why? What did she do? Oh. They just shoot at anything. Oh. Oh my god. Where are you going? On the pavement, you're shooting at a wall. Don't do it. It's as clunky as an RPG, but without any of the depth of an RPG. Gain access to... Oh, this is all I gotta do to beat the best hacker in the world is a very fucking simple game? Jesus Christ.
Gotcha.
It's as linear as an action game, but lacking most of the slickness of something like Call of Duty. It's just a big bowl of mediocre slop that isn't the best or cutting edge at anything. Oh, they're out. I'm gonna fuck him up. Oh my god.
Could arrest you at any moment.
Yeah, it might kill me more likely. Where are you going? Were you just wandering off? Where are you going? You're going in opposite direction. Where are you? You're gonna leave your car here? There's no way CD Projekt Red management could play Cyberpunk during development and honestly say that their marketing is a true reflection of the game being made.
I really promise that we'll deliver a truly outstanding, futuristic RPG, setting a totally new standard in the genre.
They're either con men or mind-bogglingly delusional. Is that what the fuck's happened over there, actually? Once, maybe CD Projekt Red was the company that they pretend to be, but you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, and CDPR have become the villain.